Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm coming to y'all with yet another book review, and this time we're looking at Supernatural Nevermore, the first book in the Supernatural book series. Now, I want to quickly mention that this is a TV show tie-in, as you may be able to see there. So it is meant for fans who watch the Supernatural TV series. And in fact, at the beginning of every Supernatural book, at least so far that I've read, they tell you when the book takes place in the timeline so that you can, read the books in the appropriate spot to the TV series. So, for example, this novel takes place between Season 2's episodes Crossroad Blues and Croatoan. So that's where this book takes place in the timeline. These books are generally not accepted as canon, but they are a lot of fun, and, I figured I'd start with the very beginning of them, even though you can really read these in any order. The books do feed off each other to some degree. Book 2 continues directly off of this one following a tip received from a character in this book, so I do recommend reading them in publishing order. But you can pick up any Supernatural book at any time and read it if you've seen the entirety of the TV series. If you haven't seen the entirety of the TV series, these books become a little bit more difficult to read, but are still perfectly readable as urban fantasy books. That's what they are. They're urban fantasy horror books. I mean, you have vampires and werewolves and demons and all sorts of magical creatures and magic and witches and shamans and all sorts of things and ghosts. It's definitely fantasy. It's just urban fantasy. The books explain enough of the laws of the world that you can read them without watching the TV show, but you will receive a diminished experience if you aren't familiar with the TV show, so keep that in mind. So this book was a ton of fun, and I actually see some people marking this as being worse than the second and third books, which I don't agree with. I've read the first 3 so far, and I actually think this is the best one of the bunch so far, to the point where I actually read this in the voices of Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki and Rob Benedict for the narration aspect, Chuck Shirley's actor. I read everything in those characters' voices for the book, because I felt so immersed in that way. Okay, so this book has Sam and Dean investigating a tip from their friend Ash at the Roadhouse, and he has a buddy in New York who's got a bit of a haunted house situation. He feels like there's a presence in his house. He knows that Ash does all this supernatural stuff, and so Ash sends Sam and Dean to go help out his buddy. So, okay, they go down there. And when they get down there, they discover there's a series of strange deaths going on that resemble stories from famed author Edgar Allan Poe and his works of fiction. And that, of course, makes this a double hunt book. They have 2 different hunts going on. They've got the haunted house, which the ghost haunting the house only comes out on certain times of night, during certain nights. And they've got the Edgar Allan Poe story kind of situation going on. So I love that. The best way, in my opinion, to fill out a novel, and it's not a super long novel. I mean, we're looking at 318 pages in a mass market paperback format, so pretty quick read. But the best way to fill out all that space is to have multiple things going on, because it's still going to take you significantly longer to read this book than it would to watch an episode of the show. In fact, you could probably watch 5 or 6 episodes if you're an average reader in the time it takes you to read this one book. If you're a very fast reader, I would say you could probably watch 3 episodes before you finish reading the book. So having just a single hunt like most episodes do would get very boring very quickly or feel drawn out. So I do like that the author, I cannot pronounce his last name, Keith R.A. DeCandido? Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I do like that Keith decided to do that in this book, give us multiple stories going on. Okay? And this starts out super strange for a supernatural book. I mean, we're talking, I want to make sure I'm getting the exact animal right, but I'm pretty sure it's death by orangutan. Quickly comb through here, make sure it was indeed an orangutan and not a different species of ape. Yep. Death by orangutan, which is very, very random for Supernatural. But it grabbed me. It made me want to know what the hell was going on. And in that way, in addition to calling this urban fantasy and horror, it would be equally fair to call these mystery novels, because there is a bit of a whodunit thing going on. And I love that. I really do. The story itself and how the characters were written, it was all fun. The writing prose are completely fine. They're not going to blow your mind, but they're not going to disappoint you either. The prose is perfectly acceptable. You know, I would say probably 6 out of 10 for writing prose. Okay? I'm just ranking the prose by itself. Nothing offensive about how it's written. The characters feel very real. Like I said, I read everything in Sam and Dean's voices because it felt like I was reading an episode of the TV show. You know, it felt like a natural continuation of that series. And I'm a huge fan of that series. And I think when you're doing a tie-in novel, that's probably the best praise you can get is, wow, this feels like part of the original world. And to me, it really did. It really, really did. The new characters were fun. Admittedly, I cannot remember the name of Ash's friend. I'm bad with names in the first place. Let me see if I can skim through here and just quickly find it so I can refer to him by name. Probably not going to see it because it doesn't ever seem to work that way. You know? So I apologize for that, but it doesn't matter. His friend was fun, charismatic, funny. And, you know, him and Dean really just hit it off. They're both, you know, rocker fans. They love the rock and roll thing. They love music. They love drinking beer and partaking in other substances, which may or may not be legal where you reside. They're very, very kindred spirits. While Sam is enamored with all the Edgar Allan Poe stuff going on in the stories, because, of course, Sam is a giant nerd and would be interested in works that resemble anything he's ever read. And we all know Sam's probably read everything by Edgar Allan Poe, because why wouldn't he? Honestly, though, I can't get too far into the stories because it would spoil a lot talking about even the most basic details of the book. What I will say is if you like Supernatural, read it. You'll have a fun time with it. If you've never seen Supernatural and you just want more urban fantasy with elements of horror and mystery whodunit stuff, read it. It's absolutely worth it. Give it a shot. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you'll feel like you're missing too much context. This one's not going over anything too complicated. There's nothing going on here where it requires super intimate knowledge of the series for this particular book. I think this is a pretty welcoming start for both fans of the TV series and just book readers as a whole. Honestly, it's one that I plan to reread every single time that I rewatch the book series, the TV series. So I can't say that about every book I've read so far. Matter of fact, the 2 that come after this book, I enjoyed, but I don't plan to reread them every time I rewatch the TV show. This one, I absolutely do. I thought it was a great time. I really enjoyed it. The characters, like I said, I could talk about Sam and Dean's characters, and I guess I should, just because not everyone watching this may be a Supernatural TV show fan. So if I don't address who Sam and Dean are and their personalities, then, you know, fans who are, or people who are wanting to experience this book with no prior knowledge are kind of left out. Probably not fair. So Dean and Sam are brothers. They hunt monsters because that's what their father raised them to do. And so they are what's known as hunters. Literally just people who spend their entire life studying and researching about, you know, the supernatural and how to confront it, how to combat it, how to kill it. And hunters in particular specialize in hunting ghosts and demons and monsters and later on other supernatural beings that I don't want to mention because of spoilers. And sometimes even pagan gods. Yeah, they get into territory like that. And so Sam and Dean as a duo are kind of what you'd expect from any buddy, you know, duo pairing. Dean is extremely smart as far as his combat skills, and they're both very good combatants, but Dean is a fighter. Dean is a damn good fighter. He's not, you know, the bookish type. He's not to say he's not book smart. He does know everything he needs to know. He does research, but he doesn't take joy in it. You know, Sam is very much the nerdy one of the two. Dean is the jock of the two. Dean likes fighting, he likes drinking, and he likes women. And he is a notorious playboy, I guess would be the nice way to put it. Constantly hooking up with different women throughout the course of the TV series and book series. And shockingly not leaving a trail of children in his wake. How, we don't know. But that's Dean. And again, Sam is the bookworm type. Sam loves to read, he loves to study, he loves to research. He's more health conscious when it comes to eating, while Dean is content with eating fried crap and pie. They really are very much opposites, but they care very deeply for each other and will fight and kill and die for each other, and have to all three several times, actually, throughout the course of the series. So they're a lot of fun to read. And when a writer can capture their personalities as well as Keith did in this book, it really is something to behold. So, yeah, I enjoyed this book quite a bit. I would recommend it to both existing Supernatural fans and the average reader who just wants more urban fantasy, horror, mystery novels, whatever it is you're into. You want more of it on the shelf, you'll find it here. Pretty cheap, too. Like, these are like $9 books. Why not? They are sadly only available in mass market paperback, which is unfortunate because it's my least favorite form of physical book, but doesn't matter. They're cheap enough. They're a fun story. If I wear one out, I'll buy a replacement. No big deal. I highly recommend this book. I believe I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars on my Goodreads review, which you can find in the description down below. And that's what I'm going to give it again here. The same score of 4 out of 5 stars. Fun time. Really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to keep reading more and more of the books in the series. So, I will see you next time. Peace, and take care.